All right, good afternoon. So, we are going to begin our discussion, or the continuation of our discussion on evaluating associations. But before I get to that, the first thing is, please remember that we have an exam, okay, next Wednesday, correct? At 9 a.m., okay? We'll be down here, and I need to give you the answer keys for practice exercise 4, and then there's practice exercise 5, okay? And that will involve confounding, okay? So practice that, and of course I'll send the exam outline, the answer keys and all of that in the next day or two, probably at the end of the week, so that you can practice. All right, so let's get started. I have to lean in because it doesn't, my voice doesn't carry. All right? All right, so last week we talked about threats to validity, correct? And when we were talking about validity in that regard, what were we talking about? Was it internal or external validity?
Internal.
What?
External.
One more time. Internal, okay? We were talking about internal validity. We haven't covered external validity yet, or generalizability. We'll get to that at the end of today's lecture, all right? So in this regard, we are focusing on internal validity. 3 things that can threaten the internal validity of your study. What are those 3 things? Chance. The second one was bias. Okay, and the third one? Confounding. All right, so let's move right into the definition of bias. All right, Lauren, go ahead.
The systematic error in design, conduct, or analysis of study that results in the mistaken estimate of an exposure-disease relationship.
Okay, very good. So we have 2 types. Okay, so when we think about bias, we can divide bias into 2 groups, okay, or 2 types. The first type is selection bias. The second type is information bias, okay? Under selection bias, there are several types, all right? And under information bias, there are several types, okay? So again, with bias, we can divide bias into 2 categories. The first category being selection, and the second category being information. All right, so when we think about selection bias, okay, the definition is any systematic error that arises in the process or mechanism of identifying the study populations, that is, the 2 groups to be compared. For example, we have exposed versus non-exposed, or disease versus non-disease, okay? That is the 2 study groups to be compared. For example, exposed versus non-exposed, or disease versus non-disease. Okay? An easier definition or concept, okay, to think about, okay, or to reflect on when thinking about selection bias. Well, this is the question that you ask, okay? Does a member of the source population, so I'll probably draw a big box that says source population. Right, so does a member of the source population have a better chance of moving into the study population? Okay, that is the question. So when you're thinking about selection bias, that's the question, the overarching question. Does a member of the source population have a better chance of moving into the study sample population? Okay, one more time. Does a member of the source population, okay, have a better chance of moving into the study sample population? One more time. Okay, does a member of the source population, does a member of the source population, okay, have a better chance of moving into the study sample population, okay? All right, and as you guys can read, this occurs when selection of study subjects is based on different criteria related to exposure or disease, results in the study groups being non-comparable unless some type of statistical adjustment can be made. And we'll go more in depth in the next few slides, all right? So we have that, okay? So if I have a better chance of moving from the source population, right? Okay, to the study sample population, okay? If I have a better chance, maybe I have a phone, you don't have a phone, okay? So I have a better chance of being selected, right? So if they are recruiting via phone, okay, they're doing phone recruitment. I have a phone, you don't have a phone, Melissa doesn't have a phone. Who has a better chance of entering the sample population?
The person who
The person who has a phone, okay? If that happens, you have selection bias. That make sense? All right, very good. Next group. All right, go ahead, Kendria. Give us our next example, please. And remember, you're on social, okay.
Case control study. Outcome, hemorrhagic stroke, exposure, appetite suppressant products that contain PPA,
Very good.
cases, persons who experience a stroke, controls, persons in the community without stroke. Bias, control subjects were recruited by random digit dialing from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This resulted in overrepresentation of unemployed persons who may not represent the study based in terms of use of appetite suppressant products.
All right, so do we see that? Okay, so do we see where the selection bias comes in, right? So who has a better chance of moving from the source population to the study sample population? Those who what? Don't? That what now? Okay, so those who are unemployed, okay? Compared to most people, or those people who work between the hours of 9 to 5, okay? So some people do work after 5, what? You get what I'm saying? All right, so there's another example of selection bias here. Can anyone point it out?
People who have phones.
Exactly, okay? I know I gave that away, but again, those who have phones compared to those who don't have phones, especially if you're recruiting in via a certain method, okay? So you have to put it into context of how you're gathering this information. Okay, so here we use random digit dialing between 9 and 5. First example of selection bias is what? Recruitment of participants who are unemployed, okay? So greater recruitment amongst people who are unemployed compared to people who are employed, right? Second example, okay, you have what? More recruitment, right, of those with telephones compared to those without, right? So, does a member of the source population, okay, have a better chance of moving from that source population to the study sample population than selection bias has occurred? Are we good? All right, let's go. All right, Rosetta, let's talk about non-response.
Non-response, the refusal or non-response is related to exposure. The estimate of effect, exposure/disease may be biased. For example, if a control is selected by use of a household survey, non-response may be related to demographic and lifestyle factors associated with employment.
Okay.
Responders often differ systematically from persons who do not respond.
All right, so a few notes that I have here, where you have, for example, controls are selected by use of a something, something, something. Just to add on to this whole non-response bias. All right, so the first thing is there's usually not a lot of information Okay, so usually not a lot of information is obtained from non-responders. If they don't respond, we don't get that information, okay? So usually, not a lot of information is obtained from non-responders. You can add a comment to that. Making non-response bias harder to evaluate. Period. All right, usually, comma, not a lot of information is obtained from non-responders, comma, making non-response bias harder to evaluate, period. Therefore, it is important to limit the amount of non-response. Okay, therefore, it is important to limit the amount of non-response. All right, so something that Rosetta said earlier, she said that responders often differ systematically, correct? All right, examples of this, okay, when you're thinking of non-response, one example of this we call the volunteer effect. Okay, the volunteer effect. And the worry well.